Hello everyone, welcome to Sam's Books Review. And today I am gonna review the book named The Fires of Heaven. This is the fifth book of the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, and I am really very excited to share my thoughts. And let's get into it. First of all, the overview of this book. Dan does have Asmodean by his side, so he got a need to learn about the Scythian because Asmodean does have a well experience with handling the true source, so he got a need to learn from him, and he also need to chase after Kuldin, who's been leading the Shadow clan along and burning all the villages from Rundin to Carhain. So Rand got to need to bring him down. That is the main purpose for him in this book. And Matt, he doesn't have any purpose actually in this book, at least for the first 600 pages. Then he got an opportunity to flourish, and he got a need to bring down Colden in the war. And after that, Egwene also doesn't have any plot in this book. She's been seeking around, but doesn't have anything big to deal with. And Nynaeve, she has been running away from Moghedien, even though she had defeated her in the last time in Tachingo. Because of her Moghedin's experience, she is not willful to attack her, and they have been getting away. Just a typical cat and mouse race. And Perrin has been enjoying his honeymoon with the file, either in Amon's field or somewhere else. I can't tell. Okay, and at last, Main and Suvan just gathers around all the Aes Sedais, and they wanted to bring down Eleda. So now it gets into the overall experience. For me, this book is a big disappointment. I can't able to love this book. When I'm going through this book at a 600 page mark, when I just stopped and looked back at what has happened here, and there is nothing actually. Actually, there are something, but that can be able to be written in 120 pages, but 600 pages is way too long. There are many unnecessary plot, unnecessary detailed descriptions around. Yes, typical Robert Jordan writing, but still, this just get beyond that level, so I can't able to love this. And a big disappointment for me because I started to love Wheel of Time books one after the other. My ratings for the first four books are 2, 3, 4, 5, and it just slipped around. And I got somewhat really disappointed with this. So now let's get into the review of this book. So if you got already read this book, jump into the spoiler review. You may love that even more. Okay, now spoiler free. So let's get into it. And for this book, the things again started from scratch. I'm somewhat used to it. Again, a new problem arises from the start of the book, and the characters got a need to deal with. It's okay, but we have been in book 5, right? Still the same thing happening again and again. It's just little bit frustrating, and some of the characters just disappear in this book. They have a good screen time, and they have been developed along the first four books, and they just got disappeared. This is somewhat really very frustrating. I wanted them to be a part of in this book, but missing them is somewhat even bad. Got to need to be a really very bad experience with that. And here in this book, only there are two main protagonists of this book. So others are not can't able to get a big screen time to flourish. So following only two characters for a 900 page book, there is no diversity, right? and this is somewhat really very bad for a plot progression, and really it felt like a slog. It's with no diversity, the same problem without any solution. They have been just moving around. Uh, Not a good experience. And I do, when I started this book, even in my last review, I do mention that the Forsaken does have an conversation in the prologue chapter of this book, and I do thought them to be the main players, but they too also disappeared. When who are all gonna to deal with this in the book? If they have a, some of them does have a point of view character or enough ample screen time in this book, this would have made a lot better. But what's written is written, right? The and somewhat, I do started to think after some 600 pages whether I can able to complete this series or not, because I can't able to love any aspects for the first 600 pages, and then the things got really grippy, and I just loved the ending of this book, even though it is not an somewhat epic ending at all. It is somewhat good compared to the first 600 pages. The way it ended, really very well. And there is no twist in this book. There are twists, but they are not clearly built in this book. They just started to appear at last, and the things just happened at a really very fast pace. Um, It is okay. On the first glance, I do really loved it, but on the overall experience when I came here and gonna to review, and this time I can't be able to give any good points about it. So yeah, so yeah, that's all I can tell about this in the spoiler free. Okay, now let's get into the spoiler filled review. If you haven't read, please exit. Okay. First of all, I love to talk about the epic scenes of this book, which is somewhat very limited. Moraine's death. Uh, I can't able to still believe that she died in this book, right? She's been a main player in this book, not a POV character, big POV character, but still she does have a lot of connections, and she does hold all this fire to river folks, right? And seeing her like this is somewhat really saddens me. um, Okay, but yeah, the thing is epic actually. The fight with the landwehr, that cool sequence, man, I just loved it. Okay, anyway, and next, Matt as a warrior, and he just wanted to get away from Randa, and he don't want to take up the responsibilities, but at last. He just takes all the responsibility and leads the army and fight back against Kuldin, and he even killed him. That is, man, I just wanted to have a more screen time with him, but each and every activities of him made me love him even more and more. He does want, we all like experienced things like him, right? We don't want to take up the responsibility, but eventually, at the end of the day, we would take up that, right? Um, that is epic, actually. But actually, what really made him to have this warrior mindset in him? Whether blowing the horn, maybe that is an option, because he also managed to fight back against Gon and Galad in the Dragon Reborn book. That is a possibility, or else getting into Rindin made him to do that. I can't tell. It is not a spoiler, I think so. If you do know, please mention that. Okay, it would have been a lot better. And Rand just improved a lot in this book. For the first four books, he just seemed to be a childish boy, but here he grown a lot. He actually behaves like a king. This is somewhat a good character growth in this book. Rantas is very different from where I started. Really very lovable actually. In this book, I do love Rand's character. And let's get into some of the things which I don't love. There are many things. Um, First of all, Rand with the three lovers. Uh, at an extent, this feels to be a cringe, actually. What is actually happening with these three female characters? Um, it is not very lovable, guys. Their relation is somewhat not also complicated, but still they don't seem to be a lover. They just seem to be sisters to him. I just can't be able to stand on that. I just started to skip some of the chapters which included him and Avita. I just started to hate all his love potions. Still a good character progression, but in this aspect, I hate him. And at last, the things I told you, right? The twists are not actually built in. Here, when Kylie revealed herself as a Lanfear, at the first instance, I just believed, oh wow, that is somewhat epic, man. But after some time, I just started to believe, oh man, this is not actually that good, right? She just disappeared. This is somewhat a distraction from the author. We got on, we he distracted us from thinking about her, and she just appeared in the last part of the book and revealing herself as a Lanfear. That is not actually good, actually, because he when Kadir just hired a girl to look after Rand and monitor all his activities. If that woman seems to be Lanfear, even that tale would have done a lot better sense. But here, the character just disappeared and coming at last and revealing herself, and the epic fight takes place. Still a good thing to be in this book, but it would have made a more epic scene if this happened. Okay, and some of the characters, Nynaeve, she's been there in Val and Luca show, right? I just started to wonder whether it is a fantasy book or somewhat a circus show, which has been written of the circus show, because I can't be able to love the scenes at all. This is not the main idea of this book, right? They just want to have a shelter from the naked hawk so that they can able to save themselves. But here it just started to move. The description is somewhat very long, which I can't be able to love at all. Maybe that should have skipped. Robert Jordan doesn't need to write that, but I don't know whether Valalupa show does have a big thing to do with the final parts of the series. I don't know, but now I feel very exhausted, right? And Mogadeen, she is not really terrifying at all. We gotta need to accept this because the last book, Shadow Rising ending, Nynaeve able managed to defeat her with ease, right? Making her trying to be terrific. It is not working out at all. Robert Jordan tried his best to do that, but still it is not at all working. The fight against Mogadin's fight against Nynaeve and Brigitte in the dreams, that is somewhat epic, but still he's not at all uh, not a scary thing to look upon. And Perrin, man, I do loved him a lot in this series. He is my first favorite character. topmost. Maybe this would stay true for the rest of the book also, but he doesn't have any plot in this book. He don't even have one chapter, guys. So uh, I can't able to accept this. Maybe I love to see him even more in this book, but yeah, he is not. He's very absent. And the thing is, one day I do take upon a walk, and on this the chapter where Min and Suvan just gathers all the Aes Sedais together. I just started to listen through this audiobook and just moved on, and I just started to scream like, "Oh man, just move on from this plot. I hate it." Every I said just started to recognize Suvan as a Ramiril seat, and this just happened for nearly somewhat 10 pages, right? Um, I just screamed inside my head, man, please move on from this plot, man. Somewhat really very disappointing, guys. Okay, and Evelyn doesn't have nothing in this book. Um, Maybe I didn't expected her to be the most powerful character at all, but still, maybe she should have made some good plot progression in this book. So if you're gonna need to skip the first 600 pages, do it in this book, right? Really very disappointing. So at last, the thing is, cool things. There is no one-to-one fight, right? Matt just kills Colden. If there has been a screen time in this book, that would have made the scene a lot epic. But Robert Jordan just he forgot to write the scene. I think so. Um, and at last, something here, Asmodean's death. Who actually killed him? I don't know. Is it Samuel? Maybe, or else some of the Forsaken just got out of the seal. Maybe that is a good suspense to end with. But overall, a disappointing experience. And the final rating of this book, I just started to wonder whether I can give 1 out of 5, because I didn't. This is the worst book I have ever read in my reading journey. The previous one is Hobbit, actually. Even that book is actually very short, but here this is somewhat 850 pages, but still doesn't have any plot to deal with. Um, Maybe I can give it a 2 out of 5 because of the ending, but still I'm really very tempted to give 1 out of 5. So okay, I can stick with the 2 out of 5 as my final ratings. And the future of the journey, this Wheel of Time series, I don't know. I can't able to start a lot of chaos right away because I do really very exhausted. I just wanted to try the prequel novel New Spring, which can able to be somewhat refreshing for me, and then I can read some of the short novels and then come back to it. Uh, this is getting really very tougher. So, okay, be easy in the comments if you haven't watched it till now. Um, do comment your thoughts on this video. Okay, until then, bye bye. I will meet you in the New Spring book review on next week, Friday. Until then, goodbye.